Hello everyone, greetings of the day. I am Professor Soumya Simon from the Department of Psychology, Kristu Jayanti College. Today in this video we are going to discuss about Bowen's systems family therapy. Now, a lot of you would have heard about different therapies and mostly individual therapies. But in this session, we are going to talk about the family therapy. And one of the prominent theories that we hear in family therapy is the Bowen's family systems theory. In this theory, Bowen is focusing on how an individual is constantly striving towards individuation and also togetherness and connectedness with other members in the family and in the society. Now, when an individual is trying to find a balance between individuation and togetherness with other members in the family or in the society, there is a lot of tussle that happens within an individual, that is intrapsychic and also interpersonal. And it is the process or over the years how an individual is able to strike a balance between the two that Bowen is focusing on. He also explains or helps us understand the dynamics within a family in terms of systems and says that how a person is or how a person is experiencing different emotions, all of these are affecting the other family members as well. So it's not that an individual is living in isolation, but a person is living in a family, and how the individual is affected, how the emotionality of an individual is, that is in turn going to affect the other family members as well. In turn, the emotionality and different experiences of other family members is also going to affect this individual person. So when Bowen is trying to explain this concept of individuation and togetherness, he says that many a times in families we experience a lot of anxiety, and the attachment that we have with the other person is many a times anxious attachment that individuals might have, especially in families where individuals might be having some or the other emotional difficulties and any kind of disorders that one person is experiencing in the family. Based on that, there is a high possibility that other individuals in the family might also be affected. Therefore, he's constantly saying that these relationships are anxiety driven. And when if we are to understand how it would work out, he is bringing in different concepts or theoretical concepts that help us to understand as to how an individual is developing a sense of differentiation. So the first thing that we are going to talk about today is the differentiation of self. Now, what is differentiation of self? Bowen is trying to say that in the process of having individuation and also maintaining a connectedness with other people, we tend to live or interact with our family members and others in different ways. Now, according to him, an individual who is having a higher level of differentiation of self is someone who is able to have a balance between this individuation and togetherness. And how do we know that a person is differentiated? Well, we can understand whether a person has a higher level of differentiation of self when we see that a person is able to understand that the problems and issues or concerns that are presented by other members in the family is not something that he needs or she needs to get affected with. These individuals know that it's a problem or an emotional reactivity or emotional concern that the other person is going through, and is able to separate himself from those problems, but at the same time is able to express and respond in a very healthy manner. So, a differentiated person clearly knows that the problem that the other person is coming up with, or the emotional reactivity, or let's say an anger that is being expressed by the other person, it is not something that I need to be worried about. I understand why and where it comes from, and therefore I have the ability to think through the process and respond to the emotional reaction of the other person. So, in families where you have people who have a comparatively more differentiated self, or there is more differentiation of self in the relationship between the family members, they are going to be comparatively more calm in their relationships. They are going to be comparatively more calm in terms of how they respond to different situations. They know that I need not be reactive of a certain situation or a certain expression that has come from another person in the family. They're able to keep their calm and then respond to them saying, okay, I understand that you have gone through this particular situation, or you're experiencing certain emotions. How can I help you to deal with that? Or how can I be helpful in overcoming those emotions? So people who are having a comparatively more differentiated self, they are able to separate themselves from that problem and deal with it accordingly. On the other hand, individuals who are having undifferentiated self, they are more likely to be reactive. And I'm sure a lot of us in different situations would have come across and seen individuals who are very reactive. So even if something small or simple happens, something goes wrong, and all of a sudden they will become extremely reactive. They're reactive to every other situation that comes across, or any small conversation that another person starts, or feedback given by another person. People who are undifferentiated find it very difficult to take it, and are likely to be more reactive towards those feedbacks or communications that have come from the other individuals in the family. People who are differentiated, on the other hand, again, are individuals who are very clear about what they want from life. They are very clear about what they believe in. They are very clear about their convictions. And therefore, when somebody else is presenting or bringing forward an opinion about a particular topic or a situation, people who are having a stronger differentiated self, they are able to tell, okay, yes, this is your opinion and I understand what you are trying to say, but at the same time, I have a very different opinion about this particular matter, and I personally believe in this or that. So they are very strong in terms of their convictions, and they know what they want from a relationship. They will know what they want from how they want to go about in a particular situation. So they're very clear about that. On the other hand, people who are undifferentiated, they find it very difficult to express themselves and tell that this is what I believe in. So what ends up happening is, majority of the time they will be dependent on what others would have said, the other people's beliefs. And if somebody has told them that this is how things have to be, you should do things like this, you should do things like that, they're more likely to follow what others have told, and they don't have a belief or a conviction of their own, which also leads to situations or times when people who are having an undifferentiated self find it very difficult to clearly say that this is who I am and this is how I feel. So it's very difficult for them to express how they feel and what they think in a very clear manner to people around them. And that's also one of the reasons why you see that people who are having an undifferentiated self are more likely to be either more emotionally reactive, they are either too close or they are too distant. They don't know how, they find it very difficult to strike a difference between, balance between how there's individuation and togetherness. Now, when we look at this, we might feel that people who are differentiated tend to ignore any kind of situation or problems that happen in the family. No, it is not so. They're not separating themselves. It doesn't mean having a higher level of differentiation doesn't mean that I don't care about the other situation. These people don't care about the other situations. No, it's not like that. They do care about the other family members. They have great love for the other family members. There is a sense of attachment and belongingness towards the family members. But at the same time, they have the ability to understand that if somebody is going through a particular problem or a concern, it belongs to them. And they need that space to deal with their problems. And a differentiated person knows that they just need to provide the necessary right amount of support to help them to overcome that problem or deal with that concern and move ahead in life. They will not get over involved in the other family members' issues and concerns. They will create an space and an environment that is supportive and at the same time help them to deal with their issues and concerns by themselves. So this is something that Bowen has brought out, and he says that it's very important that in families, individuals are able to develop a good differentiation of self. How can that be done? Now, the way to bring about a good differentiation of self is dependent on the kind of autonomy that is given in a particular family. So if in a family there is enough autonomy given to the other members, and they are given the freedom to experience their emotions, freedom to express their emotions, freedom to share what they believe in and how they want to go about in life. When there is a good amount of autonomy given, then there are more chances that individuals or children will start developing a good differentiation of self compared to a family where every individual or the family members are over involved and have a fused relationship. There is an emotional fusion that takes place. So there are, in families where there is more of emotional fusion that is taking place, it's difficult for individuals to have a sense of autonomy, have a sense of self, because constantly everybody else's beliefs, everybody else's emotions, everything is put on to each other, and it becomes very difficult for that particular person to understand that, okay, no, I am different from this, or this is not what I feel or what I experience, and I have a different set of belief systems and thought processes and so on. So therefore, it's very important, according to Bowen, since he is explaining family as a system, it's very important for us or a family to ensure that there is a good amount of autonomy that is practiced between the family members, so that individuals are able to have a higher level of differentiation, or have a good differentiated self and deal with, and that is going to have a very good impact or a positive impact on the relationships. What this does is it was going to bring down the level of anxiety that is there in the family. In families where relationships are more undifferentiated, you are likely to see a lot more anxiety because every other individual is constantly being reactive to other person's responses, other person's emotions, and how they are experiencing or expressing their emotions. So, therefore, it's very important to help families to develop a good sense or good differentiation of self. Now, apart from this, another concept that Bowen talks about is emotional triangles. Now, what are emotional triangles? Now, what Bowen is trying to say is that when there is a problem or a concern, let's say an issue that comes up or a conflict that comes up between two individuals, it is likely to create a lot of anxiety. And as individuals, we don't want to experience that anxiety. The immediate thought that comes to our mind is that we just want to get rid of this anxiety that is there in the relationship. In the process, what individuals end up doing is they fail to deal with that anxiety provoking situation or the conflict. They don't want to deal with it. What they do in turn is sometimes either we try to avoid the problem and we don't want to discuss about the problem, just move out of that particular situation, and then we get busy with different things. So what Bowen is saying is, every time that two individuals in a relationship, if they are not solving the conflict that has risen between them and they move on to something else or somebody else for solace and to vent out that anxiety or let off that steam that is there in the other relationship, then it is going to lead to emotional triangles. How does that happen? Let us say, for example, there was a conflict or a fight between the husband and the wife. When this conflict takes place, ideally what they are supposed to do is to sit together at a different point in time when things are comparatively much more calmer and nice and calmer and peaceful, and they should be discussing and talking it out, and they should be trying to resolve this conflict between the two of them. But that's not what happens in majority of the relationships. What in turn happens is, let's say, if the wife feels that things are getting very difficult and there is too much of conflict and issues with the husband, there are high possibilities that she is likely to get more closer to one of their child or maybe both the children, and a high possibility that she would end up sharing all the concerns and issues that she is facing with her husband, with the children. Now, when she does that, quite natural, children are going to feel that, okay, my mother is going through a lot of issues and concerns, and the reason for those problems and issues is the father. And quite natural that the mother and the child or children are going to become more closer, while the husband or the father is going to become more distant, because they have formed a bond or they have created a communication like that. Now, this process where a third party, in this case the children, are brought into the relationship or brought into the conflict, it is known, we can understand that it is known as an emotional triangle. And when the children get involved in this emotional triangle and are stuck in this emotional triangle, this process is called as triangulation. So it is very important, according to Bowen, that we understand that anytime there is a conflict or an issue or a concern, it should be dealt between the two people involved in that conflict. Sometimes, though, the third person might come in to resolve or help in resolving the issue or the conflict. But what is needed is that the third person keeps a stand that is neutral and avoids becoming part of the triangle or the whole process of triangulation. That is something that is unhealthy. Now, one might wonder, is it only the relationships within the family that is causing this? No, it's not so. Sometimes, let's say, in the same case, if the husband becomes more involved in his work, then again a triangulation is happening whereby he and the work, it is getting closer, and there is a distance created between the husband and the wife. So a triangulation can happen not just with the individuals or family members, but it can also happen with a particular situation or a thing or something that the other individual is involved with. A triangulation can happen with members outside the family as well. For example, the wife can think or choose to get more closer to a particular friend of hers or maybe her own family members. And when she does that and when she starts sharing things with the other people and tries to get a relief from this conflict and this anxiety outside of this relationship, then again it is a process where there is triangulation happening. So it's not necessary that the triangulation is likely to happen within the family itself. It is a possibility that we might have triangulations happening with members outside the family as well. So, as you can see that today now we have discussed two major concepts according to Bowen. In this video, we have discussed about the differentiation of self, where we are talking about how an individual needs to find a balance between how there is balance in individuation and in togetherness. So the balance that they strike is known as differentiation of self, and an autonomy that they are able to experience, the ability to be able to respond to different difficult situations rather than to react to different situations, to the ability to be able to differentiate between what is thinking and what is feeling, the ability to be able to understand the situations in a better manner, to respond to the situations in a better manner, and also the other topic that we have discussed, other concept that we have understood of emotional triangles, whereby we tend to give out our anxious situations and we bring in other people or other situations to deal with those emotions, and how that impacts or affects the relationships, and the need that we should be solving any conflict that we have with a particular member in the family, with that member himself or herself, and not bring in anything, a third party or a third situation into it to resolve it. So I hope that you were able to understand these two key concepts that were brought in by Bowen and that we have in Bowen's family therapy, and you had a good time of learning, and hope to discuss the rest of the concepts in Bowen's theory in the next video. Thank you.